How the treatment worked was for the first 80 days, it was every 10 days in hospital. And it was for about 3 or 4 days, depending on which treatment it was. And it was 5 different chemotherapy drugs that they would give her, and they would have to keep rotating it, because why neuroblastoma is such an awful cancer to get. And actually, if you Google the worst cancer for kids to get, neuroblastoma is there. Like, that comes up as number 1, which is, I think, just ridiculous. But the reason why it's one of the worst cancers is because it's very, very clever, and it will actually start to become immune to a certain type of chemotherapy. Hence why the initial treatment plan is very aggressive. So normally it's every 21 days. So with something like leukemia, it's every 21 days that they'll go in for treatment, but neuroblastoma is every 10 days. And no matter what her blood levels are, so it's not, as they call, count dependent. So if she is really unwell, if she's neutropenic, which means she has absolutely no, no immune system, they still will carry on with treatment. Whereas again, with others, they might delay it. But they don't with neuroblastoma, because they just have to give it all they've got. And one consultant actually said to me, our consultant, he said to me, the worse the cancer diagnosis or prognosis is, the harder we have to hit with it and the harder we have to treat it. So the more aggressive it is, we have to treat it with an aggressive plan. And actually I was like, yeah, let's give it all we've got. We need to get rid of it as quickly as possible. So she's had that. She's had the first 80 days. They call it rapid Kojak. She's had that. And then they do all the scans over again. So the MIBG scan, the biopsy, MRI scan, they've done all of that again at the end of the 80 days. And if she moved on to the next stage, so if she cleared everything, the next stage would be surgery, and then high dose chemotherapy, which is strong chemo basically. And then after that is radiotherapy and then immunotherapy after that as well. Where we're at the moment is, unfortunately, Arianna didn't clear as much as we needed her to, but she cleared quite a bit of it, which is amazing because it's working.
It's going in the right direction, isn't it? Which
exactly.
is amazing.
So she's finished the initial induction chemo, so that was 80 days, and that was 8 rounds in total. She's finished that, and then all the scans and everything, again to the MIBG, the MRI, the biopsies, done that, and Arianna's shown progress, so it's definitely, reacting well to the chemo, but she just hadn't cleared enough. So we need, what they say is 3 spots of the disease in her entire body. When she started off, she had 34 spots. After the induction chemo, that went down to 21 spots. So then we still had to obviously carry on with more chemo. And actually, Arianna was really lucky, or we was really lucky, because the NHS have just authorised a new trial. It's called BIT chemotherapy, and it's brand new, and I believe only Great Ormond Street Hospital are the first hospital to have it under the NHS, and so Arianna was eligible to go under that, which was amazing. So she started that. She actually had, just before that, sorry, I feel like there's so much that's gone on. Just before that, she had stem cell harvest, which is basically them collecting stem cells for then, during high dose, they'll then put it back in her body, so she'll have her stem cell transplant during high dose. So we done stem cell harvest, and I just want to talk about that a little bit actually, because I have to say that I thought would be a really easy week. I was heavily pregnant, and I thought that would be a really easy week if Arianna just basically in bed, she had to be strapped to a huge machine, and just we can sit there playing, and it would just be like a fun week, no chemotherapy, no treatment, it was just a good week of the play team. But actually it was the hardest week ever of my life, almost, apart from obviously the first week. And I can't quite figure out why, but when we were there, they had to, because Arianna's, because of how the timeline of it, so we found out she was doing stem cell harvest on the 14th of February. That's when day 1 was for the stem cell harvest. But actually the week before, they gave her this injection to boost her stem cells. And what they need it to be at a certain level, so then they can actually do the harvest. But Arianna peaked over a weekend, of course.
I remember.
And over a weekend, they don't
do it.
offer, which frustrates me more than anything, because I'm like, well, the cancer
If she's
doesn't
ready,
stop.
if she's ready, go.
Then let's go for it. Like, I don't understand why. And then our consultant came in on the Friday and said, she's peaking now, we're going to miss that peak, and actually we don't think it's going to be very successful. And that was the same day that he told us, also she's not cleared enough for us to move on to the next stage. So I was obviously absolutely distraught and in bits, and he kept reassuring me, this is good news because she's reacting, we just need to take a side step. And he was really good at explaining that to us. However, when on the Monday, they done her blood levels, and they said her blood levels are neither here nor there to then start the harvest. So we're just going to go for it anyway, which meant Arianna had to go under GA to have her, it's called a VASCAF, but basically another line
General
inserted.
anaesthetic.
Yeah, general anaesthetic.
Sorry, what's amazing also, since it's happening, you just become a complete professional on medical terms, don't you? No, but you do.
It's true, yeah.
Because you live half of your life at a hospital, and everything that's important to you is medical, so you just understand everything about this, from not knowing what neuroblastoma was to now just knowing.
Yeah, it's true.
You know,
I feel like you
don't even realise that you're doing it.
Yeah,
For people
sorry,
who don't
just
know,
explain.
GA, no, I'm just saying that's the world you're living in.
Yeah, completely. And that was the first day that Arianna absolutely did not want to go under, go have the sleeping medicine, as she called it. And she, oh my God, she absolutely kicked up a fuss. And putting any child under general anaesthetic is hard enough, because the way how their body just flops, I hate it, and it does not ever get easier. But this was the one day she fought it, and I was heavily pregnant, and I had to hold her down, and she was fighting me. She didn't care who she was fighting, she did not want it, and I had to hold her down for her to then just be put to sleep. And that was traumatic. It was, honestly, it was just awful. It was horrendous having to do that to someone who's already gone through so much. And that whole week, she, because it was really weird, because our consultant came in and was like, we're going to go for it anyway. It's probably not going to be successful, which will mean you'll have to do it again in future. And we were like, great. They wanted 12 million cells. Is what they want. That's the magic number. But if we get 3 million, we'll be really happy with that, is what he said. The first day went really well. They normally do it over 1 or maybe 2 days at a push. The first day went okay. We had just under 3 million. So then they wanted to go again for a second day. Second day, we got another 3 million. So we had nearly 6 million. And he was like, my consultant came in and was like, do you know what, if we go for another day, then if we get over 6 million, then that's even better, right? Because apparently on stem cell transplant, they only need 3 million. But if she needs it a few times, then they at least have it. So we're like, we're going to go again for a third day. But every day, Arianna had to have 3 injections, and these injections must have been really painful. And the injections were purely to help really boost the stem cells again. The injection she would have in the middle of the day, then one at midnight, and then 6 a.m. So we literally had to wake her up to give her these injections. And by day 2, she was absolutely fighting these injections. And nurses and me were holding her down. And in the end, one nurse came in, and she was amazing, and she made up this story about how the night fairies are going to come in and drop off some presents if she's really good, and it was just her on her own. And every night she would make sure Arianna woke up to a present, and it was amazing. She would put glitter all over the floor. Cleaners hated it, but she would put glitter all over the floor, and it was amazing. And Arianna kind of got used to it by the end. And anyway, come day 3, they were like, she's peaked again, which hasn't, in my consultant's lifetime, they said that has never ever happened. And he was amazed, and he was like, we're actually going to go for a day 4, which he said he's never ever done, because he was like, her blood levels have peaked again, which is just so crazy. So they went for a day 4, and in the end we got 15.5 million cells, which is just like amazing. And he did say he would bet his career on it being unsuccessful. And he said it would be a story that he'll tell forever, because he'd never have imagined that, she'd respond so well. And she did, she'd done amazing. But it was a really hard week, obviously. But having her VASCAF taken out, normally they sedate the child, but Arianna refused that, and refused any painkillers, and she literally just watched them pull it out. She was amazing. Like, I was so amazed at her. Every time I am, but I was so amazed at her that week, how well she was, and she just watched them take it out. It started bleeding, and she was just great. She was like holding the pressure on, and the nurses were explaining what to do, and she was listening and understanding and, doing it all herself.
She's been so strong, hasn't she, throughout all of this?
She really has been.
Even with the NG tube, which is for
medicines and for feeding. So
she doesn't have it in, does she?
No, she hasn't had it in for ages actually. And the last time we put it in, because she had general anaesthetic, she had her ovaries removed, which obviously I've forgotten to mention because again there's just so much going on, but she had her ovary removed, and the reason being, just to explain, is that the chemo that she's having is so strong that it will more than likely completely kill off her ovaries, so any chance of her having children is completely out the window, or her own children, shall I say, is completely out the window. So they've removed one ovary, and they're going to store it for her, so when she becomes, obviously when she's older, they're hoping, there's actually no technology right now, but they're hoping that there will be the technology available for them to then reinsert that ovary, so then she potentially has that chance. But that was a really hard decision for us to make, and again, not all hospitals offer that in the UK, which I think is crazy. But we nearly missed that opportunity, so that's one chasing that I had to do, which you'd think that would just be standard,